is the future. This is how I put it. Very simple. It's the future. Believe it or not, you can embrace it or you can push it away, but this is the future. And the way I put it out is that blockchain is the same thing as the internet 20, 30 years ago. When the internet was created, everybody thought that was a huge scam and nobody needed it. Look at us today. We cannot live without the phone. I'm connected to the internet right now. And the blockchain, basically, it's an upgrade of the internet, because the internet it is today is controlled by the big tech company. And we are not the owner of our data. And the main role of blockchain technology is instead to make us become again the owner of our own data and make sure not only that we can control the way that we do things, but we can choose what we can do with it.
Welcome to another episode of the Untangling Web3 podcast. Today, we're delighted to introduce Bruno Calabretta, the Indonesian hub leader at Internet Computer Protocol, or ICP. He's also the co-founder and CEO of DFinance. Bruno is at the forefront of pioneering projects in the Web3 space, including the inception of the first incubator program on ICP, the development of blockchain solutions to authenticate made-in-Italy products, and the widespread promotion of blockchain education across 135 institutions in Indonesia. Wow, he's been busy. Today, we'll be talking about the fundamentals of blockchain, smart contracts, and Dapps, as well as the work of Bruno and ICP. Bruno, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to dive into some of the Web3 mysteries.
Yeah, nice to have you on, Bruno. How are you doing today?
All good. So far, so good. You are the last one of the day, so let's go for it.
Yeah, I know it's very late for you. I appreciate you being up on this hour. So let's
It's
get
a
straight into
pleasure.
it then. I think Alex giving you a great intro, but I'd love to know a little bit more about your early career and background. I know maybe you started life in kind of biomedical engineering. I'm interested to see the path you've taken to go from there to then the world of Web3. So if you could give us a quick overview of, your journey, that would be really, really interesting.
Okay, so yeah, Alex did a great job. I really love the introduction you made, so thank you so much once again. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of background about myself, as you can guess from my accent, I'm Italian. I live in Bali, in Indonesia at the moment. And how my Web3 journey started actually in 2018, when I started to buy Bitcoin as a joke with some friend. I had some money to spend and I started to put them there. But in reality, I am like 100% in Web3 only for the last 2 years and a half. Before, my background is also I'm a biomedical engineer, and I used to work before with some of the biggest pharmaceutical in the world. I traveled all over the place. I've been based for some years also in the US before to be here in Bali. And I had reached, let's say, the maximum I could reach in my corporate job. And I was not happy with what I was doing. And Web3 was my biggest side passion. As I told you, I started to buy Bitcoin as a joke because in my previous job, what I was doing was just traveling all the time from one customer to another, from one country to another all the time. And I was not spending the money that I was making. So this friend of mine, actually a colleague, told me, Bruno, let's start to buy Bitcoin. And I was like, man, I have no idea what it is. He said, yeah, come on. Instead of just spending them when you come back on a weekend in booze and something else, let's buy Bitcoin. I said, okay, man. And I started to put money into it, money after money. And then, after you start to put a lot of money into it, you start to wonder, what the hell am I doing? Where am I putting this money? And I started to get more and more involved into the Web3 space. And it was mind-blowing for me. Like, it really resonate also with myself, with my character, with my beliefs. And I started to dig deeper and deeper until, as I told you, I was in the US and pushed by the American dream to do what you love and follow your dream. I quit my job, literally like this. I moved to Bali and I started to be 100% into this field. And I love it.
Yeah, it sounds like on the surface, you've got the kind of idealized Bitcoin digital nomad, right? You buy some Bitcoin, you move to Bali, everything's happy, you quit your 9 to 5. But I think obviously there's a lot more to it than that. And you mentioned aligned with
Yes.
your kind of personal principles and things. What kind of thing drew you to that then? What specifics about Bitcoin and the broader kind of blockchain space was it that drew you?
Look, I'm sure that this is something that whenever you go to a Web3 conference and you listen to those panelists, this is maybe something that pop up quite often, is the fact that, blockchain has one huge possibility to bring back something that is missing in our society. First of all, equality, and second of all, fixing the problem of a lack of trust. And this is something that really resonates for the kind of person that I am. I like to think that I am one of the good guys. So I really like to think that we need more equality in this world, and we need something that will allow to our society to evolve, improve, upgrade. And I truly believe that blockchain technology is what can really fix this problem or these issues that we are having right now. So that's why I really like what I'm doing. And I want to add one thing. Yeah, everybody say, yeah, quit your 9 to 5 job, do what you love. You're never going to work a day in your life. It's BS. You're going to work 5 times more than what you used to work before. I'm sure that you guys understand me because you're also laughing. So it resonates also with you guys. But yeah, of course, it's going to wait a little bit less than when you are like being under someone else. But yeah, keep this in mind, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say you're in Bali right now, but it's 11:30 p.m. when we're recording this, so it's not like you've got a 9 to 5, Bruno.
Everybody thinks that I'm in Bali, drinking a coconut, staying on the beach, surfing every day. I swear to God, the last time I surfed, it was 1 year ago. No joking. In my villa, I have a pool, and my wife sometimes makes fun of me that we have a pool, and I've been in this pool probably once. No joking.
This is the thing. You should have just invested in Bitcoin and not looked under the hood, not tried to understand it. I think your sanity would have been much better if you'd have gone down that route and just saw it as a number on a screen, maybe.
No worries. I'm keep investing it.
so one of the reasons that this came about is because I saw you all over social media. And like I said in the kind of the intro, you talk to institutions a lot and try and highlight what the hell is this thing, blockchain. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to get you on this show, is because, me and Jack have been in the space for a while, and we get very technical and nerd out quite a lot when we talk about this kind of stuff. But you're interacting with normal people, institutions that don't necessarily have an understanding of the underlying technology that is blockchain.
They don't know
So
nothing.
Exactly. So I really want to understand, what is blockchain to you when you're talking to these normal people out there, the institutions? How do you explain blockchain? How do you explain what makes it so revolutionary?
It's the future. This is how I put it. Very simple. It's the future. Believe it or not, like you can embrace it or you can push it away, but this is the future. So Web3 for me is the future. And this is the way I put it down every time I'm speaking with the government or with institution or with people that want to know more of why we should get involved into this. And the way I put it out is that blockchain is the same thing as the internet 20, 30 years ago. When the internet was created, everybody thought that was a huge scam and that nobody needed it. We had the fax, we had the telephone, we didn't need internet. Look at us today. We cannot live without the phone. When you do this pitch, most of the time people are with the phone in their hands. So it makes sense for them. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm connected to the internet right now. And the next step is making them understand that the blockchain basically it's an upgrade of the internet, because the way that the internet it is today is controlled by the big tech company, and this is something that we don't want, because we are not the owner of our data. Everything that we create, it goes in the end of somebody else that then is selling it to the highest bidder. And the main role of blockchain technology is instead to make us become again the owner of our own data, and make sure not only that we can control the way that we do things, but we can choose what we can do with it. So basically, this is the future, and we should embrace it. We should promote it. We should make the young generation eager to learn about it, and for them to understand it, to embrace it as in fully. And this is usually my pitch, and it works. As you said, yeah, I've been able to interact with several institutions, both in Italy with the project that you mentioned before. I was the blockchain development manager for Italy, where we created the first certificate for products that are 100% made in Italy. Now, if you think, guys, when you go and buy something, you never have the certainty of what you are buying. You're just trusting the person that is placing some information on the label. You have no way of verifying this information. Now, imagine that now you can finally have the possibility of verifying this information, because the motto of Web3, what is? Don't trust, verify. And this is basically what we did with this certificate of Feder Italy 100% made in Italy. Now you can buy Italian product that have been certified, that have been audited, and now the origin of those products is 100% made in Italy. And when you are buying a product that has this QR code that is redirecting you to a smart contract that contains the information of the audit, now you can verify this information and you can see it. So I've been able to pitch this project in front of the Italian Senate, European Parliament, European Commission. And here in Indonesia, I'm collaborating with the government. I'm collaborating with different ministries. I'm collaborating with the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Minister of Youth, Minister of Education, Minister of Enterprises and Cooperation, the Minister of Work. So I'm collaborating with all these ministers and the government. Why? Because as of today, when you think about developers or technologists or a country that are involved in technology development, the first country you can think of, what is? India. But why India? Because India for the last 30 years have invested money in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So these people, they eat these kind of things since they are very young. Now, Indonesia has a big advantage. It's the fourth most populated country in the world. 65% of the population is below 35 years of age. You understand that this is a very young country with a lot of possibilities, meaning that all these people are eager to be part of the future. They want to learn more. And the best way for them to learn something, what is? They need someone to teach it to them. So we've been putting together this program that has allowed me to collaborate with more than 130, 140. Every day there are more coming in. And just today, I closed a partnership with another 2 universities. And basically what we are doing, we created a course that is fully in Indonesian, because this is something that is missing. Most of the information are in English, but we don't count that in Southeast Asia, in Asia, or even in Africa, South America, all these places, not everybody speaks English. And most of the information about blockchain or new technology, even AI, they are in English. So we created a course for free for all the students, where they can learn about blockchain entrepreneurship. They can learn about how to become a developer, how can they create the first smart contract. And then from there, we bring them into an ideathon phase where they can generate ideas. So we teach them also how to pitch a problem, how to fix it. And then from there, they go to the hackathon. So those that have completed the developer course, they go into the hackathon, and we give them the best idea that won the ideathon, and we make them deploy them. And then the next step is create a national database and give all this force, all this manpower to state-owned enterprise, private business, institution, everybody that wants to build into blockchain and they are looking for manpower. Now we are creating them and we are unleashing them so that in this way they can really make a difference. And this is what I've been doing so far, and people like it. The young generation, they are so excited about it. We are still finalizing the platform. We build a platform that is fully on chain, not on a server that are on Google Cloud or Amazon. It's 100% on chain. Everything is there. So it's really cool what we're doing. I'm really proud and happy of what we are doing, actually.
That's extremely exciting. I'm glad you've touched on a lot of things there. No wonder you're so busy all the time. That seems like a very ambitious project, right? I think that one of the things you touched on was the kind of the countries that you're working in, maybe Asia and all these places. I think in the West, we have an understanding of the value of maybe cryptocurrencies, but nowhere near as much as, say, South America, Asia, because in the West, we have very confirmed, very easy to use payment rails, right? And in these countries that you're naming here, like Indonesia, in Argentina, there's a lot more in the Philippines, there's a lot more kind of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin adoption and awareness, because they don't necessarily have that certainty. They don't necessarily have these payment rails, and they have an understanding of the value of having something that's decentralized and can't be government controlled, for example. One of the things that I want to talk about that It's really interesting. And I don't want to jump too much into what you're doing at ICP right now, but it was really interesting how you kind of highlighted there. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you see it's kind of like an infrastructure layer. You don't see blockchain as this just for Bitcoin. It's more around being able to trust data. And the way you described it is like it's the future of the internet. It is very similar to the internet. And I think that's a great way of describing it. It's a way that me and Jack have talked about it very often. What kind of feedback do you get to that kind of description when you're talking to institutions and governments when they say, okay, what's blockchain? You say, what's the future of the internet? And you don't need these central controllers of the internet. You can do it in a trusted peer-to-peer manner. What's the kind of feedback you get, and how do you explain it at a bit more in a deeper level?
So most of the time that, especially at an institutional level, at the government level, most of the time they don't know what you're talking about. They've heard about it. They know about Bitcoin because, especially recently with the new all-time high, is on the mouth of everyone. But the reality is that they don't know what it is. They don't know how it works. So most of the time we need to go into explaining them what is that we are doing and how blockchain works and in which way it is different from the infrastructure that is existing at the moment. But the same thing it's for me, like even myself, when I introduce myself and if I am around and people ask me, what do you do? And I cut it short. I'm like, I'm in crypto, I'm in blockchain. And the first thing that people ask me is, are you a trader? And I'm like, no, I'm not a trader. I'm here. I'm for the technology. I like to define myself as a technologist. So I'm here to push for this infrastructure to become the basic layer of everything that we are going to build. So I believe that the main core of blockchain, it is to bring an environment that is decentralized, where we don't have to rely anymore on the big tech companies, where people have finally control over their data, where people can choose in which way they are going to exchange payments, create a society where we don't have any more borders. Now, of course, if we want to get into a little bit of the technical part, and I'm honest, when I speak with these people, most of the time, I have an engineering background, so I can go into the technical detail, but I know that they're not going to understand me. I know that they're just going to get bored. So most of the time, I give them example as you would have explained something to a 5-year-old kid. And that this is what it works. This is what they want to hear. They want to hear that blockchain is something simple. This is something I always used to say, like in my post on LinkedIn or on other social. What I like to say is that we don't need all the buzzword. We don't need all this technical thing. Oh, you gotta know this, you gotta know about that, you gotta know about what this algorithm, how it works, what is a DAO, what it is. No, you just need to know that this is about to solve the situation. This is about to fix our society. So it's better to showcase like example like the one that I gave you about Federitaly and the certificate, because this is a real use case of blockchain technology. You don't have to trust anymore the vendor. You don't have to trust anymore with placing a label. You can just verify this information. And the same thing, it goes like an example that I use all the time is, imagine we are all playing a game. And in this game, we have a couple of rules. So every time that me, Alec, Jack, before we move forward, and we have a huge scoreboard, and in this scoreboard we are keeping track of all our score every time that is our turn. But before I move forward, you move forward, Alec, or you, Jack, we have the possibility of taking a picture of the scoreboard, and every time we need to check it. Every time before we move forward, we have to check it, and we all have agreed that the scoreboard is the same for everyone. Now, imagine at some point I'm a dodgy character, so I want to win. I want to make sure that you guys are going to lose. So when you guys are distracted, I'm going to change something in the scoreboard to make it look that I'm winning. But then while we move forward, you can just tell me, hey, Bruno, no, in my recent copy of the scoreboard, you don't have that value. Alec is telling you the same. So you are automatically making invalid the last entry. So this is a clear example of blockchain. It's tamper-proof. It's public. It's there for everyone, but you cannot change it. You cannot tamper with it. Because what is happening is for it to work, you need a consensus. You need for all the network to agree. This is a peer-to-peer network where everybody is involved, where everybody has a voice, and where every voice matters.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful description, I think. And I completely agree with your take on it, right? Describing it via talking about the use cases, talking about what you can do with it, the problems you can solve is much more effective than what we probably did over a year ago now when we started the podcast and we did a blockchain 101 episode and we talked about the minutiae and the lower level details. But I really like, you mentioned quite a few different things there, like you almost pepper in the properties, right? Immutability, the decentralization, which is an interesting one as well. And you're explaining it, but in the context of what problem you're actually solving. And one thing I would want to ask you, now we're kind of revisiting blockchain 101 and trying to understand how do we talk about these things more effectively. I would also like to get your take on how do you see the role of blockchain within larger Web3? And because Web3 is a lot of things to a lot of different people, right? It's a bit of a catch-all term. Whereas sometimes I think blockchain has more specific properties, more specific use cases, is used as an infrastructure. And you mentioned, Web3 is like the early days of Web1, right? In terms of the earliness. So how does blockchain fit in Web3 to you at a fundamental level? I'd be interested to know.
So everybody, when we talk about Web3, we are imagining the world I'm telling you that it's fully decentralized. But the reality is that very few are able to really deliver a Web3. So far, we are still in a Web 2.5. And I know we will get deeper later into the ICP technology, which I think is the only one that it's fully actually Web3 at the moment. But as of today, without blockchain, we don't have Web3. Because Web3, what does it mean? It means that you have an internet, but this internet is working in a decentralized manner, meaning that you don't have to rely anymore on the server that are centralized, but you need to use an infrastructure that is on chain. But the reality is that as of today, very, very, very few are able to give you this. Most of blockchain as we know them, especially the biggest one, they have only their coin that is on chain. All the rest is still on centralized server. They're still on AWS, on Google Cloud, on Microsoft Azure. You don't have nothing on chain because it's expensive, because the gas fee are going to be unimaginable compared to it. Just to give you a couple of numbers, if you want to store 1 gigabyte of data on Ethereum, how much do you know how much it costs?
I'm going to say 500,000. That's a big number. Have I blown it out of the water?
No, it's way more.
Really?
Oh, wow.
How much?
Yes. 1 gigabyte of data on Ethereum is going to cost you something around a couple of millions of dollars. Plus,
Wow.
before you see those data on blockchain, it's going to pass probably a couple of weeks. 1 gigabyte of data on Solana is going to cost you maybe $200,000, $300,000. On Avalanche, I think it's 100, something like this. On ICP, on the internet computer, is $5 per gigabyte.
Wow.
$5. Of course, you can compare it with Google Cloud and you can tell me, yeah, but if I am a business, I have Google Cloud, it's going to cost me, I don't know, $5, something like this, even less. Yeah, of course it's going to be much cheaper, but it's still on centralized server. You are not the owner of this data. If someone else tomorrow is going to wake up and is going to unplug your server, bye-bye to your data. Ciao. Say ciao, because you're not going to see them again. Unless somebody's going to go there, plug it again, or give you permission. So you see, this is the difference that we want to see in Web3. We want to see an environment that is fully decentralized, but for real.
I like that. I think that's a really good analogy, and it puts everything into perspective. The amount of projects that I've seen where they've been like, everything's fully decentralized and they plug into AWS or some kind of server on the back that's managed by one company, and they're like, oh, it's the cloud though, the cloud's everywhere. And you're like, the cloud is literally just a computer that's somewhere else that you can't see. Like, it's no different. It's not this like magic thing in the sky, and they don't usually know the difference, and projects obviously don't promote that stuff. I'm really glad that you highlighted that issue. And on that note, blockchain, like you said before, is this data integrity layer. You gave the comparison of the leaderboard. I think it's really great. I never heard that before, and I'm definitely going to steal that because I like that a lot.
Go for
but
it.
People must be thinking, okay, so that's quite simple. It just gives me immutability and data integrity, and that's quite simple. It doesn't revolutionize everything necessarily. One of the things that's come about in recent years that we've seen is the idea of Dapps now and smart contracts that build on that data integrity layer, that peer-to-peer kind of communication layer as well, and actually provide really interesting functionality on that quite simple premise. Could you go into, smart contracts first of all, and then maybe Dapps, how you envision them, how you explain them to people, and what they are in your mind?
Okay, so it's easy. So a smart contract is just an agreement between two parties written by code, so digital. So far, let's imagine that me and you, Alec, we want to make an agreement. Yeah, you want to borrow me money. You want to give me, I don't know, 10 pounds. And we have an agreement that by the 10th of July, I need to give you these 10 pounds back. But we need someone, we need a middleman. We need a third party that is going to verify this information. In this case, the third party can be Jack. And probably we need to pay a fee to Jack to make sure that Jack is going to check it out, that on the 10th of July, I'm going to give you back this money. Or maybe, on the 10th of July, maybe I'm short. I'm going to call Jack and say, hey, Jack, I'm short. Please allow me another couple of days. Give me another week. Give me another month.
And he's going to charge you like 10 times the price for that. Jack's sly when it comes to that kind of
Jack
stuff.
is going to say, yeah, don't worry, but maybe you have to pay me more. You have to give me this. It can happen, man. Now, smart contract is digital, so nobody can tamper it. It's using the main property of blockchain, that is immutability. It's transparent. It's public. Nobody can tamper-proof with. So what is going to happen is that I don't need Jack anymore. We don't need Jack anymore. We are going to do this agreement. You are going to give me this money. I'm going to put some collateral. Collateral can be, I don't know, my iPhone. I'm going to put it there as an assurance. Then the 10th of July is coming and I'm not paying you. The smart contract is taking the iPhone and is giving it to you. And they say, ciao, Bruno. Next time, make sure you pay your bill in time. So basically, this is a smart contract. In the developer world, there is this way of saying code never lies. Also now, thanks to artificial intelligence, everybody can audit code. So you can just go and check what that code is doing. A lot of people are doing it, especially with the smart contract that the government is trying to write. And then people are going to go audit and say, hey, man, what the hell are you doing? What is written here? It's like PS. You cannot do this thing. So you see, this is the cool thing also about code, that you can audit it. You can check how it works. So basically, a smart contract is just an agreement between two parties that is controlled by a third person. But the agreement can be any kind of agreement. Even it can be the agreement of if this thing happen, you have to do this. If that thing happen, you have to do that. Or else you go this and that. So you're implementing mathematical function and making sure that it's working in a certain way. Now, how a decentralized app works through smart contract. So inside the decentralized app, you have that the infrastructure layer is the blockchain. So it's built on the blockchain. But then the rules that are governing the centralized application in the way it works are the smart contracts. So inside the Dapps, you can have several smart contracts that are doing several things, that are performing several functions. And this is exactly how the smart contracts are fitting into the vision of how a decentralized app should work.
That makes a lot of sense. I really like that description. I think it's so clear. And that's a really interesting definition, actually, and not one that I've heard. It is very broad, right? But I think it applies. Do you think this idea of smart contracts, then, does that stem from something like Bitcoin? Does it stem from Bitcoin, right? Because I think a lot of people don't view Bitcoin as a smart contract platform, even though Bitcoin is what popularized blockchain, and you can encode some rules in Bitcoin. You can encode certain logic that mimics these rules that you're talking about between two parties, but it's not as expressive. And now Ethereum is seen as the main smart contract platform, right? So do you classify Bitcoin as being able to do smart contracts, or no? Okay, and why is that?
This is not for why Bitcoin has been invented. If you think, Bitcoin was created, why? It was created a year after the 2008 bubble, when it was proven that there was something that was rotten inside the financial system. So it was created, the Bitcoin, to make sure that people had an alternative for doing payment where they were not under the thumbs of or big corporation. So Bitcoin is the store of value, is the digital gold. This is why it was created. And then we had Ethereum, where there was the possibility of creating smart contract on the blockchain. So Ethereum, yes, was created with this purpose. Now, of course, we know that both Bitcoin, yes, is the number one. Ethereum has been also the number one in creating smart contract. But we see that there are gaps at the moment. Like in Bitcoin, we see that it's slow and it's expensive. On Ethereum, you see the same thing, that there are very high gas fee, and they are in the hands of few validators. At the end, if you go and check on how many validators are controlling what is happening on Ethereum, you can see that it starts to look a little bit centralized. But the reality is that we need something different. So we can start to see smart contracts, so new things happening on the Bitcoin if we use like other chain. So chain that can become like a layer 2 for Bitcoin. This is an example of what you can do with the Internet Computer Protocol. So the Internet Computer Protocol, as we are our own layer 1 blockchain, but we also have made integration with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And these integration are not just as bridges. I apologize the audience, I'm going to start to use a couple of weird terms here and there. So when you hear the word bridges, it means that you are depositing money somewhere and then they're giving you back something else that is like backed one-on-one. But if somebody is hacking that bridge where you put money, ciao, ciao, your wrap token is equal to 0. So what is happening instead on the ICP, both for Ethereum and for Bitcoin, is that the two chains are able to communicate. And basically, when you are putting one Bitcoin inside ICP, you're putting it inside a smart contract. The smart contract cannot be tamper-proof. It's tamper-proof. And what is going to happen is that then you are receiving this CKBTC, that is the version of Bitcoin on the Internet Computer. And now you can create application on the Internet Computer that will allow you to use this Bitcoin for performing also other kind of action, where you can create like a new DeFi application, where you can create like new functionalities. And you have all the advantages of the ICP. It's cheap, it's fast, it's secure. So you have all the advantages that you don't have at the moment on the Bitcoin. And everything that you do on ICP, it's still like a fingerprint communicated and written inside the ledger of Bitcoin. And this is amazing because this is what we want to see. You want to see like new functionalities that are coming on board, new functionalities for the users, new possibilities of how you can use certain assets.
Okay, so now we're really getting into the meat of the Internet Computer Protocol. But you said it's a layer 1. There's also bridging mechanisms. You earlier made it sound like an IPFS system, which is like a distributed file storage system. Can you give us a lowdown? What is ICP at its core, and what's it doing? What's the vision?
Okay, so what is ICP? So ICP stands for Internet Computer Protocol. It's a layer 1 blockchain that was incubated and launched by the Definity Foundation in 2021. We are actually about to celebrate our 3rd birthday on the 23rd of May. So it's going to be a big celebration. So what is the Internet Computer Protocol? The Internet Computer Protocol gives the possibility of hosting almost anything onto the blockchain. It can be a game, it can be an enterprise system, it can be almost anything you can think of, a social network, fully on the blockchain. For the way that the Internet Computer works, why the Internet Computer is really decentralized and is capable of hosting everything on chain. So Internet Computer Protocol works, or we call it just ICP. There are several nodes that are the validators. So usually we know that on Bitcoin, you have the proof of work. On Ethereum, you have the proof of stake. On ICP, you have the proof of useful work. So you have this hardware machine. So the validators are not people, are like hardware machine that are distributed around the globe and that are owned by independent data center. This infrastructure, it's allowing what? It's allowing, first of all, to prevent like local attack. So even if a node is attacked, the network is not compromised. You never know where the information are held on which node. So even if a group of mercenaries wants to attack the network, they will never know which node they have to attack to check certain kind of information. And even if a node is compromised, all the other nodes contain the same information, so you are not capable of attacking the network. And this is actually super cool. And this, the way that the proof of useful work works is that when there is some information that needs to be validated, it's not that this information is given only to one node. Multiple nodes at the same time are performing this check. And what they are doing is that they are checking all the information all at the same time. Meaning that in this way, there is this thing that each node cannot compete with another, but they all have to work at the same time. So the cool thing of the ICP is that the network is actually infinitely scalable. The more nodes are incorporated into the network, the faster the network it can be. One transaction on ICP, can you guys guess how much it can cost? So in this way, we make it entertaining.
A penny.
Less.
Wow. Okay. A hundredth of a penny. I'm gonna go low. I'm gonna lowball it.
Yeah, something like this. It's actually 0.00001 ICP. So it's
Wow.
0.0001112 cent, something like this.
Wow. Damn.
For whatever amount, for whatever. It doesn't matter if you're moving 1 million or you are moving $10. Always the same.
Wow. That's
That is
crazy.
impressive.
So you see, this is actually amazing. This is what you want to see. You want to
Yeah.
see a network that it's working like this. And then another thing, I think you guys have used like application on Solana, Ethereum, or any other chain. You know that every time that you have to use a decentralized application, you need to pay. You need to pay some kind of transaction fee for everything that is happening. There is this example that I like to use, and maybe you can steal also this one if you like. So imagine that you are at home, no? And you want to do zapping on your TV. So imagine that your TV is like a decentralized application, okay? If you are on Ethereum, every time that you want to change the channel, you want to do zapping, you need to pay. Even if there are the batteries inside your remote, you always need to pay because you are doing something on the blockchain, so you need to pay the transaction. On ICP, there is this thing that is called the reverse gas fee model, meaning that the users don't have to pay to use a decentralized application. You don't have to own any kind of cryptocurrency. From like on Ethereum, you need to use to have Ether in your wallet to be able to use the app. On ICP, you don't need it. You don't even need to own ICP to use the app. Because what is happening is that the developers, the one that are owning the app, that are building the application, are fueling the application to work by charging it with cycles. So you can basically convert ICP token in cycle. And these cycle are the one that are actually allowing the application to work. So in this way, you that are using the application, you don't need to pay. And this is the cool thing of this reverse gas fee model. Then we have another thing that is super cool. Like usually, a lot of networks, they need to use oracles. So oracles give you access to the outside world, and they give you the possibility in this way to check the information, and then you can provide these replies that are given to you by the oracle into the network. First of all, every time that you do this, you are relying again on a third party, in this case, the oracle. So you're assuming that the information that the oracle is giving you are correct. On ICP, we have this thing that is called HTTPS outcall. So in our smart contract, there are these replica that are going actually outside in the world and checking the information that we need. And then once they reach a consensus, they give you back the information. So we don't need any more oracle in the way that the smart contract works. So this is completely like completely new. It's something that you don't have on other chains. So this is like are some of the unique features that I really like of the ICP. And one last thing that I think can be also cool, we are like one of the greenest blockchain because one transaction on ICP is twice cheaper than a Google research. So also
Really?
this.
Wow. Damn,
So these
that's
are
crazy.
some of the cool things. And this is the reply that everybody gives because most of the people, they don't know about ICP. But then when they discover how it works, they're like, wow, I didn't know it was working like this. And even developers that are learning how to deploy on ICP, they see that there are so many new functionalities that are not existing on other chain that they're like, wow, I don't want to go back. Like recently, I interviewed a project for onboarding moving from another chain that I will not name into ICP. And I told them, look, ask your CTO and your team to do a little bit of research on the chain. And let's see if you like it. Come back to me, provide me a document or something, and then we can discuss how to help you move and onboard on ICP. After 2 days, he reached out to me, was like, my CTO is in love with ICP. We want to move everything there. Like this is a very common reply.
It's very impressive. Like that, the high level points you've given there, they are like staggering stats. Like that's real usability, right? That's like something that can compete with Web 2 applications right now, which is completely needed.
The interface and the speed is the same as a Web 2 application. This is another thing that you need to keep in account, considering the comparison with Web 2. Sorry to interrupt.
No, don't worry. That's a big thing. That's super important for any developer. One of the things that I would like to bring us back to is you talked about the proof of useful work, and like I've worked with Bitcoin a fair bit, and you read the white paper, and you're like, okay, this is beautiful. The whole point of Bitcoin is you're moving trust in central authorities to trust in really hashing power, which is energy expenditure, right? But now you think the environmental implications of that. You struggle to justify the environmental implications of that, especially when you're thinking, okay, this isn't replacing an entire monetary system. It's really just being used as a holder value. So really the utility is very little for the amount of energy it uses. And I remember spending like weeks trying to think of a way you could use this hash power that's basically just solving mathematical puzzles that are used for nothing other than verification of a block down the line for Bitcoin mining for useful purposes. Like, can you just talk a little bit about that? Like, what kind of things are you solving right now? Because I gave it a quick Google and I'm looking at it, I was like, this is incredible.
So you mean what kind of application have been built so far?
No, what kind? Yeah, so what kind of like useful work is done? What kind of things are being solved in this useful work that's being done for the proof of useful work?
So this